Now try something smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It's Thursday, the 4th of April, 2024. This is program number 1157 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. And in addition to radio, of course, you can get us 101.1 FM radio, and as well on our website, rcistlucia.com. You can also download our previous shows there in podcast form. And we are streaming live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. And of course, if you want to call in to the program to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. That's our landline here. And you can also use WhatsApp. If you've got that app, it is 724-0008. That's the number you got to save in your phone and your contact list. And if you want to call in or message in via WhatsApp, again, that number is 724-0008. Now, in a bit, we're going to be discussing a play. It's St. Lucian written, St. Lucian produced. It is about a true story in our not too distant history, and it's called Kesno. And it's happening this coming weekend. It's being put on, and we're going to be discussing that in just a bit with the director and actors in the play. So we do hope that you can join us for that. But first, a bit of some birthday greetings first, actually. Going out to Mr. Donald Bob. Happy birthday to you, sir. Hope that you're having a wonderful celebration. Hope it's a good one for you. It's also the birthday of the Minister for Health, Mr. Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste. Happy birthday to you, sir, and we're hoping that you're having a fantastic day. And it's also the birthday of Miss Zena Pamphil. Happy birthday to you, and wishing you an absolutely wonderful day, Zena. A bit of history for today, quite a bit of history actually, and things that happened on this day. Well, if you're interested in a little bit of English history there and privateering and all of that, Francis Drake was knighted by Queen Elizabeth I aboard his galleon called the Golden Hind, and that happened in the year 1581. In the year 1789, the first United States Congress began regular sessions, and that was during the presidency of George Washington, and that happened in New York City at Federal Hall, which was at the time being used for that purpose. 1949 saw the NATO treaty being signed. That's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization treaty, and that was signed in Washington, D.C. On this day in 1968, U.S. civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. He was killed by James Earl Ray, and that happened at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee on this day in 1968. 1973 on this day saw the World Trade Center, which was at the time the world's tallest building, opening up. It was 110 stories, and of course we know it. They both came crashing down as a result of terrorist attacks during 9/11. And 1975 on this day, Microsoft was founded as a partnership between Bill Gates and Paul Allen, and that was to develop and sell basic interpreters for a device known as the Altair 8800. And we now move on to our dish of the day, where we're taking in Kesno. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Tip, all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gas and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody, we got the best as an island. Trust me, we are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, we do hope that you're having a very blessed day. And I know that school is out, so you are quite likely looking for things to engage your youngsters in, your children, and of course, as it's Easter holidays, and there is in fact something happening this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday, which would certainly be a great treat for them in many different respects. But of course for you too, because it really does touch into the whole idea of St. Lucian identity. And that is a play being put on called Kesno, and it's being produced by Lighthouse Theatre, local theatrical production right here in St. Lucia. And the man behind it, the genius behind it, we're so very pleased to have him here in studio with us, Mr. Kendall Hippolyte, poet, playwright, and he is in fact also the theatrical director for Kesno, this play which was written many moons ago by Mr. MacDonald Dixon. Welcome, Mr. Hippolyte, and as well we are joined as well by two members of the cast for Kesno, and they'll be on stage in just a few days. And so pleased to have as well Mr. Christopher Duncan. Many people know him as Zol, and we're not going to get into that at this point. That might be too long a story for our production here. As well as Mr. Kyle Gustav, who's perhaps the youngest member of the cast indeed. And so, of course, we're going to be discussing about the importance of that and how he got involved, no doubt. But, gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us here today at the lunchroom.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Mr. Hippolyte, of course, you've been in the business for a very long time. You teach this stuff, you breathe it, you live it. You've been at it for a very long time, no doubt. And now you're putting on this production of Kesno.
Yeah.
How does that fit in terms of all the plays that you've produced and directed? Where does that fit in for you at this point, taking on this current one?
That first question just kind of threw me like, wow, I even thought about that, what? Yeah. But, okay, I mean, here's the thing, to me, theater, the more theater can connect with the people and place that it is taking place in, then the more it serves its purpose. Because I've always thought of theater from my earliest days, watching it in action. I've always thought of it as a kind of way of provoking a conversation in the society about things, issues, ideas, and so on, that people in the society are genuinely interested in, Sometimes they may not even know, or some may not even know up front that they are interested in it until they see it and then realize, but in truth, this is going on right now, right here, that kind of way. Mm-hmm. So I've always thought of theater as a way of starting a conversation. So it can do that even more effectively when the play, the production is located in the history of the people that the play is dealing with. And Kesno is like that. The play Kesno is like that. It's about a really important, to my mind, a really important historical incident that happened in St. Lucia, December 1919, and continued on a murder, and then continued into the trial and execution in May 2020. But this
1920.
1920 up to 2020.
You threw us into COVID times.
Yeah. Thanks. But I mean, we're talking about an incident that was happening in a St. Lucia that was really, under colonial rule, race and class ruled in a very, very overt way. I'm not saying it's not here now; it's still there, But the kind of overt, draconian way in which race and class kept people down, even people of great ability and so on, was really, was overwhelming. So the play Kesno, I'll just give a very, very brief. The play Kesno, it's okay. It's set in a jail cell with flashbacks, right? But the play Kesno is kind of one of the things it's looking at is the rise of somebody. His nickname was Black Mallet.
And of course, bells are going off for many people.
Absolutely.
Because you may have heard at this point, wait a minute, Black Mallet.
Yep.
But to me, I know where that is.
Black Mallet in Marsha is named after him.
So it's an actual, real person.
It's an actual, real person. And there are people from the area, even now, who no longer live there now, who grew up hearing stories about him. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting as you speak about sense of place. A lot of the names of the places in St. Lucia tend to be about old estate owners, French planters, people who may have stayed on the land. And even places we think have some kind of special meaning, like Babono, that was actually a man's name.
Right.
Deramo, we think it's about birds, is actually a person's name. Mondudon Dudon was a person's name. Leslie was a person's name.
Yes.
But and usually these are colonials who very many were not born here. They came, they owned their estates and whatnot. But you're talking about, in this instance, somebody who was actually not too long ago living around here, a black man.
A black man.
And they named the place after him. Interesting.
Because he rose. So this is somebody who basically had a primary school education, right? Young, black, poor, primary school education. Tremendously intelligent, obviously. Very, very intelligent. A lot of charisma, a lot of belief in himself, And I think somebody who understood the system that he was living in. He knew that it wouldn't give him any leeway, it wouldn't give him any space, it wouldn't give him any quarter. So he knew he had to fight his way up for his for his talents to be shown, for his ability to express itself in ways that could benefit not only himself but other people, which it did, So so his full name is something like John Cleophas Edward. John Benjamin Cleophas Edward.
That's quite a name.
John, it's a typical
At the time.
typical Lucian thing with how many names.
But you need to get another name.
That's just too much. It's too much. So he's coming up in the St. Lucia of that time as a young black, barely primary school education, but obviously very, very, very bright. And seeing the system, and he starts to make his way up through the system. His first real job is as a groom, because this is the days of horses and mules and so on, and this is the days also of the English having a military presence here, so their horses have to be groomed, their stables have to be cleaned, all that kind of thing. So that's how he started. He was a groom, dealing with the horses, dealing with the stables, shoveling, as you say, shoveling horse shit, So, but watching the system and seeing how he could rise in it, eventually he moved from just being a groom to he began to become more important. He got to the point where he actually ended up owning the team of mules. There was a team of mules that had to, they pulled the scavenger carts, right? So he ended up owning a team of mules that did that. And bit by bit, and he was a businessman. I think of him and I think of persons like J.Q. Charles, Valmore, indigenous businessmen who had a basic education but tremendous business sense, and a single-mindedness. And he rose up to the point where he began owning bits of property here and there, and he invested his money. When you own one set here, you can use it otherwise. He got to the point where he owned the fastest racehorse in St. Lucia at one time when he began to rise. So, he got to a point where, as he says, they couldn't stop me. They couldn't hold me down. He actually has those words in the play. They couldn't hold me down, So he rose. Eventually began to be invited to Government House. He joined the lodge, and he wasn't just an ordinary member. He became the master of the lodge, Tremendous ability, So
he was working the system. He was trying to work his way up the social ladder.
Yep, he did.
To place himself, despite the fact that he may not have had a secondary education, or or he may not have been of a certain color or coming from a certain class.
And people wanted to keep down somebody of that color and class. Now, it needs to be said up front about him that, he did this as Malcolm X would say, by any means necessary. So, I mean, he did legitimate things. He had legitimate enterprises. He legitimately owned land and so on. He legitimately had an estate, all these things. But he was prepared to cut corners if need, because that's how the system worked then and now. And now. So where it seemed advantageous to do it, he cut corners. He circumvented the law, you know.
And such an important conversation, as you're saying right now, because we're talking about the amount of crime, money laundering, drug trafficking, all of these things. People are cutting these corners. I don't want to get into that too much. I'm sorry for putting there. There's
you want to get
clear
RCI
resonance
sued.
Nothing new.
This is nothing new. People have been doing what they can to be able to get themselves
up there
as fast as possible.
Yeah.
The name, though, I mean, you just mentioned, what is it? George Theophilus
Benjamin
Edward.
Yeah.
Very, very long name there.
Yeah.
But somehow he ends up with the name Black
Malay. Yeah.
Maybe you want to talk about who Malay is in this context.
Okay. So one of the things that helped him was that a colonel in the British Army that was stationed there at the time, well, permanently, because they had a military presence here, was a Captain Malay Parry, right? It's a very French-sounding name, but Captain Malay Parry, who noticed his ability, and as will sometimes happen across class lines and even across color lines, he noticed the young person's juvenile and then young man's ability. He noticed it, and in a sense, kind of took him under his wing, So I think there was a sense in which he was. He could never be fully protected, but there was some limits, some constraints to how overtly people could express their prejudice and actively keep him down, because he is kind of like under the wing of a colonel in the British Army, and people now, again, people from his own rank, from his own class, they began to call him Black Malay, because as he himself says in the play. He had the intelligence, he had the mind. Colonel Malay recognized it. It's just the color of his skin now is different. So they called him Black Malay. It's a typical kind of St. Lucian thing to do, So he became Black Malay, really and truly, from then. Yeah. I love this story, absolutely.
I can tell that. This is why I asked you how much of it has gone into your soul in terms of identifying how important this play is to you, given so many that... I mean, because, of course... Walcott Derrick has done so much of that too, identification, the Dream and Monkey Mountain,
yes, that's right.
Siadofe, these places, trying to tie them to the land.
Tija has all,
But this one, very interesting though.
It is.
And even though that it may be the case, it's even at the screening that you had not too long ago, there was a question as to why another dark story. Why so many gloomy stories? Why must they always seem as if we're always in these difficult places? Did you get that from it? I mean, is that what you gathered?
No, and I mean, I'm happy for the other actors to jump in, if they want at any point. But I really don't see it as a dark story or a gloomy story. It's got its tough side, without a doubt. There's a murder, there's an execution, but that's not all there is. And tell you the truth, if you're looking at any nation, any people that's looking at their history, you're going to find the dark side. If you're not looking for it, finding it, acknowledging it, trying to understand how did it come to be there, then you're not really looking at your history, really and truly. So, no, I can't see that's just a dark story. Nah, not at all.
And of course, I guess, Zol, a lot of times these things can be so blurred. I mean, this idea of good and bad, and, this was a man who was trying to survive, I suppose, as Kendall said, by all means necessary.
I don't know, before I even continue, thank you and all those who made it possible. Thank you to your listeners for having us here. I don't know if I want to say that we supporting or defending whichever way that somebody chooses to survive, as you put it. But whether we do that or not, for me, is if that's what it is, that's what it is. Is the focus. This did happen. And there must be something that we can learn from it. So if we can focus on what the strengths were, what we can identify with within our society, that we can model, that we can keep alive for the next generation to look to, then that for me overlooks what is so termed the darkness, the reality of life, then the relationships and the way we can, I don't know if I can say cross match, because we just did that a while ago, that no matter how way back then it was, it's a lot of it is quite relevant today, and we can learn from what happened there to make our situation here a lot more amicable, in whether it be in crime, whether it be in decision making, whether it be in trial wearing, whether it be in the societal decisions that we have to make. There is that we can take from and learn and bring forward.
The production, of course, I mean, is based on a play which was written by McDonald Dixon. And of course, a man of many hats, and I mean, coming from a banking background, but his love of theater and digging up the history, digging up the story, really comes through in this play which he's written. Originally, I understand for film, for TV.
For TV, yeah, for TV. I remember seeing the TV script. He had give me a hard copy of it. When I say hard copy, I was talking about a typewritten thing. Way back, must be like late 70s or early 80s, thereabouts. This, this, I mean, is the play has 4 actors, but most of the interaction happens between 2 persons, right? In a jail cell, and it has got flashbacks and so on. So the 2 main actors in it at the time, for the TV script, was the late Arthur Jacobs, powerhouse actor, and Gandalf St. Clair, another powerhouse actor. Although Gandalf wore so many hats, sometimes people don't remember that he was an actor. He was a really, really good actor. And they had actually begun rehearsing it, sometime I think in the early 80s. And then somewhere in the middle of this, Gandalf emigrated to Canada. I don't think it was a plan for how long he was going to be, but he moved then.
Right.
And then things came to a halt. But MacDonald, you originally wrote it for film, for TV. The idea of doing it for as a stage play came up sometime, probably like about in 2019, thereabouts. Because listen, MacDonald don't throw away nothing.
Wait. So let's wait. Let me just be clear of what you're saying. Because I didn't realize this was what it was.
Right.
Based on he said he wrote this somewhere in 1968, I think it was.
I think the earliest version of it would have been from the late 60s.
From the late 60s.
I didn't see a script of it until maybe sometime in the 70s.
Okay, you didn't see it until the 70s.
The
which
script,
was a TV.
But it was as a TV thing.
For TV production, which never happened. And then from that point, from the 80s, the 90s, to almost 30 years later, he then decides to dig this out of his archives to put it towards a play.
That is MacDonald Dixon.
That's actually a phenomenal story in and of itself.
A few days ago, he sent me a script that he had written. The first draft of it was when he was still in secondary school. So that would have been in the 50s.
50s, 60s, yes.
Yeah, and 50. Would it even
I think he went in there in
1954.
I think he said he went into St. Mary's College.
Okay.
Yes, so yes, you're right, somewhere around there.
Yeah. He had his first version of it was written when he was still a student, and he goes back to it and film it. And he sent me a version of it yesterday. I said, "Don't throw away nothing."
That's a very important lesson in of itself.
I'm not sure he even throws away toilet paper. No, I didn't say that. No, I did not say that. But yeah,
let's hope he does. But yes, I mean, and finally, yes, that was brought on, that production in 2019. Brought it to the audience, to the knowledge of individuals.
Yeah.
And invariably, everybody was watching this was probably find out about this for the first time.
Yeah. When we did it in 2019, we didn't. What we did in 2019, Delia Francois, God bless her. She had a thing going at Gable Woods Mall where she was trying to she had 758 books going.
Right.
And 758 books was not just about books, it was about like a cultural hub for all kinds of different activities, including plays and so on. So I mean, so we had the use of the food court, and we created a stage there. So, and we did a stage reading of it. Different actors at the time. Elijah Williams, Vibe Radio, he had one of the main character roles in it. He played Black Malay, and a fellow called Hensel Samuel, who's now in Canada, young fella. No, it's not in Canada, sorry, in Taiwan. He played Kesno. He played the role of Kesno. So we did a stage reading of it then, which means it didn't have all the bells and whistles.
Right.
Basic costuming was in place and so on. But it's still like, fancy lighting, sound effects, all kind of thing. We didn't have all that. But we did a stage reading of it there. So a stage reading, strictly speaking, the actors are free to have their script in their hands. But they knew the lines, so they didn't need to use a script. So stage reading, and a lot of people came. Including people from the Black Malay area. And we had, I shall say this, we had a post-play discussion afterwards. And we're going to have post-play discussions for the performances in Atropo this weekend and in Grosley when we do it. So in the post-play discussion, you were hearing stories from people who had heard stories from their parents and grandparents about this fellow Black Malay.
Wonderful.
Who had and still has, I think the land is still their property, somewhere at the top of Black Malay. It was an amazing night, I could remember. So we had decided to say, okay, so the stage reading worked well, we're going to take it around the island during 2020. And then COVID came and said, go back with that. Yeah.
So it is happening this coming weekend, and it's on at the Entrepreneur Human Resource Center. Now it's called the Romanus Lansico Human Resource Development Center. That's at Entrepreneur. And we do hope that you can get into it. It's actually Saturday and Sunday. Saturday from 8 o'clock and Sunday from 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
And this is a very, very rich conversation that we're having, but we have to put a pause in it.
Yeah, no problem.
Because we actually do need to pay a few bills and take in our weather report. So we're going to do this at this time.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Ju Grizzly, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, spaces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, on 1.1, it's our time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia. The forecast for St. Lucia, valid for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. The weather, partly cloudy skies, becoming cloudy at times with a few light to moderate showers. And the forecast for the Les Antilles, partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with scattered light and moderate showers over the southern Les Antilles. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy skies with a few showers. And the weather summary, moderate easterly winds will continue across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Moisture and instability over the southern half of the region will cause cloudiness and showers over the Windward Islands and areas further south. During the next 24 hours, over the remainder of the region, generally dry and stable conditions will prevail. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island Style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles and thin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all at Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
The Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We are discussing a St. Lucian play. It is being put on this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday, at the Romanas Atlantico Human Resource Development Center, HRDC. That's quite a mouthful. And it's happening from 8 p.m. on Saturday and 6 p.m. on Sunday. It is pretty affordable. I think just about $30 beforehand if you get the tickets at the Island Pharmacy on Chaussee Road.
Yeah, opposite Del Center.
But you can also get tickets. You can pay at the door as well. But do check it out. It's happening. And we're so very pleased to have the director of the Lighthouse Theatre, Mr. Kendall Hippolyte, as well as two of the actors who are going to be on stage this coming weekend. Zol, you are one of them, and your experience thus far. I mean, you've been in this for a little while, I think, yeah. And tell us about the experience thus far.
So every time they mention the stage reading of Kesno, I go back and I think I miss being counted for audition because I was doing a play with Magdi. We were putting on what is it? I don't remember the name now,
Okay.
but that same time I was
Mm.
Magdi put on that in that same space.
That same space, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Daria,
Yeah.
and yeah, I only heard about it. I didn't even get to go see it because I myself was preparing whilst they were preparing to put on theirs, and
The Zookeeper.
right, that's it, the
Yeah,
Zookeeper.
Zookeeper, yeah.
Yes, we had put on the Zookeeper in that space, so I was not an option, at least for an audition, and that probably would have put me face to face with the material. I didn't see it any at all. I just heard about it. And lo and behold, at some point, I got invited to read it. And when I read it the first time, just the first time, the language that it's written in for me, I felt like I was being taken back to my childhood memories growing up with my grandfather and the whole rural setting that I grew up in, and there was no way even if they had turned me down at the reading, I would beg because it touched me.
Right.
It
right.
touched me, and the more I delve into it, the more we enact it, the more we rehearse it, every time it reaches something else, some other part, you come across some other parallel of a life that you knew or a life that you heard others speak of, that you can now just reminisce in. That's the journey for me. The language, I'll say that again, the language that MacDonald was able to so intelligently put words into. Some of the descriptions, some of the events that unfold on stage, they make you comfortable in your identity as a St. Lucian, and also to find that even way back then when we thought, well, boy, life was maybe harder because of absence of technology. You can look to how, maybe it was probably harder, but had certain enrichments that we probably would have loved to have now. But we wouldn't give up not that we want to give up our technology for it, but it would have been wonderful to have experienced it the way they did. That's the bigger part of the journey for me. And I want to bring in my other co-actor, because for me also is the transition in. That was Mark Dixon and them time, or just before Dixon and them. So when they came into their youngness, he wrote that stuff. He passing it on to me. I am the generation just a little after him. And we are passing it on to this generation, Gen Z. So I want to hear what it has, what's the journey for this generation.
Now, MacDonald will take umbrage with you because he'll tell you that he wasn't around when Black Malay
No,
was
I'm
there.
saying
he was long. He was long.
him.
he wasn't even thought of as yet.
Yeah,
right.
It was before him,
but
he created it in his generation.
Yes. And it's interesting as well, because I think he did mention that how he even came to write this was as a result of somebody from an earlier generation, that being Roddy Walcott, sending him to go and do research at the registry to get the case files for another real story, which was then produced into Malfini, about, again, Obia and Moshi and killings and all of that, which actually even happened, I think, about 20 years even before the Black Malay situation. So a lot of interesting connections. But as you're rightfully pointing out, I think I'm just borderline millennial. Okay. But Kyle here has a completely different letter. I think they call Zennials. And I don't. So you guys are not at all. But Kyle, as you're saying, it's coming from a time where everything is about Netflix and Amazon and getting stuff from a TV. And Kyle, you choosing to be on stage, having to be remembering lines and putting on. I mean, Why are you even interested in theater? Tell us about that a little bit.
Okay, well, I will say that I've been interested since about secondary school. Like you said, I know you mentioned TV, but it would actually be me seeing people on TV that I think characters and them resonating with me, that I thought, okay, how can I do this here, right? And it was a lot of stage plays, so I did some stage work I went to Compre, so I did some stage work at Compre, went to Sa'afa where I ended up doing...
This is theater arts?
This is theater arts,
okay.
Because
this is something that you never had in your... So this is something, at least some movement in CXC theater arts, right?
It's not where it should be yet, but, it's getting there. But, so then I went over to Sa'afa where I ended up... I joined Kappa Club, the Creative and Performing Arts Club, and we ended up doing a production which was written by Kendall Hippolyte. I ended up doing Cash Pandora, and I'd like to think this is where, because he was in attendance when we put it on, I'd like to think, I never actually asked him, but I'd like to think it's because he saw me. It's because he saw me in Cash Pandora that he then reached out to me, called me later on in the year, and then yeah, and then I'm now working. I did always say that I wanted to work with him. So, and I didn't tell him this, but when he came to me with the script, I hadn't even read the script yet, and I had agreed. I had agreed. I had agreed. I didn't know exactly what it is I'd be doing, but I just instantly agreed, and then I read it. But yeah, so it was something I was looking forward to from a while. I was very familiar with him, so I was looking forward to that a lot. And I enjoy it. I enjoy being on stage. I enjoy the process. I know you talk about remembering lines, and can be challenging, yes, but it's all part of it. I enjoy all of it. It's fun.
There seems to be a bit of, maybe you could say, I don't know if these words sometimes, a renaissance. I don't know if it's fair to say so. But there is a lot of interest now from people in your generation in terms of theatre, in terms of performance. In terms, I mean, we're seeing some of them coming up. I'm thinking of Michelle, oh gosh, the name's Auguste, is it? I know I'm mixing up the names a lot, but they produced this thing for Carifesta a couple of years ago. Monique Auguste, right? I'm sorry about that. And her other colleague there. That there is that interest. Is it? What do you think? Are we coming? Are we going? Are we? You said there's more to be done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and Kendall and myself, we've spoken about that during the rehearsal process as well. But I do think I do have a lot of friends. I do have a few friends who are interested in theatre, who are interested more in the arts, whether it be singing, dancing, whether it would be the theatre itself, doing acting, or even directing. I know some young people who want to direct, who want to go that path. So there is interest in it. I don't know if there is enough interest in it, but there are those who want to go that way, go down that path. But being a young artist, you need that support. So that's why, again, working with Kendall, working with people like Zol, Richard, our other actor, and these people who have been around me coming in, there's nobody better. There's no set of people better that I feel like I could learn from at this point where I am, right? Where, at this stage in my life here in St. Lucia, there's no better set of people for me to be working with. That's how I feel.
And of course, you're doing this because of pure passion. I mean, Kendall's not even paying you.
We'll need to talk about that,
The reality is
but yes,
is that this is really out of love, really, and passion and interest of doing it. But Kendall, I mean, we've been speaking about this. We're supposed to have this advantage in the Caribbean about our creative industries and taking it to the next level and whatnot. I don't want to bring up too much frustration for you, but I mean, at the back of your mind, you must be thinking, gosh, we need to bring this to the next level. I know one of the projects that you wanted to look at was actually turning it into a film.
Yeah. And we actually began doing so last year. This was now Delia Francois was the kind of like the mover and shaker behind the. When I say behind the process, I mean behind getting government's attention on it and hopefully trying to attract funds and so on. Delia pushed to get it to connect with the Independence Committee last year, and to get it as an independence project for last year. And there seemed to have been some, from what I can understand, because quite frankly, Calix, I like to stay in my lane, you understand? When it comes to things like project proposals, the phone calls, the committee meetings, I like to stay sane. So I like to stay in my lane. I deal with the creative aspect of things, and persons who have the skill set and the patience, etc., to deal with those other things they do. So Delia was the one who was pushing to get on the Independence Committee program for last year. There seemed to have been initially some definite interest, and on the basis of our understanding that there was interest, we actually began the rehearsals. I mean, to do it as a film, the National Trust had made available a space for us in one of the barrack buildings, which we use as that was the cell, and we started to work on it. And in fact, really just about a couple of and the work was going pretty well. I mean, these two main actors, they work amazingly well. We quarrel all the time, but that's part of it. Yeah. So, but somewhere, so actually we began to work like about February last year for the film. Dean Walton from Allbiz with Bernard had done a wonderful project proposal, etc. That had gone in, etc. And about a couple of weeks before we were to do the first bit of filming on it, and there was some money needed to be advanced, for one of the components of it that we needed for the filming, and that's when it came to light that no, the money wasn't there. There'd been some cross wires. The head of the independence committee had changed. The new person coming in was not as okay, etc., 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 etc. So the idea for a film, I'm just saying, has been there before. Mm-hmm. So we would really, 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 really like to be able to get this going as a film. We want to take it around. We want to take around the stage production to communities in St. Lucia too, because let me tell you, live theatre is live theatre. There are things that can happen in live theatre that cannot happen. One is not better than the other, but the things that can happen if one that can happen. So we want to take it around to some communities in St. Lucia, but we've revived the idea of trying to get it done as a film. So I don't know. Fingers crossed. Zol can hopefully say a little bit more about that. He's been more behind it. I say that's not my lane. Yeah. But we're really hoping we can get the funding, the resources, etc., the support to do it as a film.
And of course, this is where it reaches into Kyle's generation in particular.
Yeah.
This is when you can be speaking about, hey, maybe in Netflix, maybe
why
some
not?
kind of platform to take it global.
Yeah, why not?
And very exciting, Zon. I understand you're going to help it make it happen. But I mean, the whole theater scene, though, just coming back to that a little bit. Are you satisfied? Are we doing enough productions? Are we, how can we grow this to the point where, as Kendall is saying, you can be in a View Forte one weekend and Soufriere another weekend and Grosley and all that. That kind of gravitas, that kind of vibes.
Three things. I know people usually say three things and they end up saying about five, so that's why I'll say three things. Oh, my good chap used to say firstly, secondly, and then he would just keep going on and on. So, when the phrase is coined that the culture is dying, I am very wary of that phrasing. Because I ask myself, if the culture is dying, that means all the people are going to be dead soon. So then we need to worry about nothing. If the culture is dying, people dying, so culture will die. But the people who hold on to that concept never take into consideration that sometimes it has to morph into something else. Sometimes it has to what they call it, integrate, or what do the musicians do? Come on now, when it comes crossover, but they have another word here. Fusion. Right. That's it. So they some of us hold on to this pure state of the culture. That it has to be that way. And if it's not that way, no. So sometimes you have to twist it up a little bit to accommodate those who are coming after. So the transitioning, I will answer the question. The transitioning from being able to take a stage play and make it into a film, for me, will get a lot of young persons who would not have otherwise had an interested now, because they will see it in a form that can attract them, and they probably begin to have the conversation now. How do you get to do that? And it branches out into so many different sectors, because when they ask the question, how are you able to do that? You know what happens now? You get in IT specialists, you get in camera personnel, you get in sound personnel, you get in lighting personnel, because these are the areas that they tech savvy in. And when they ask the question, these are some of the answers that will come the way. That's my viewing of it. That's one part. Two, where are we? Like my colleague said, we have a long way to go. But I feel good about the fact that when I look at where Kendall and them used to be doing their stuff and those before them, And when I came, it wasn't brighter, but it was, in my mind, different. There were things that we climb on their back because they stood up, and we were able to go next level. You still are getting paid, you still you still not getting the kind of recognition. But to me, we moving. We should have been moving a lot faster. I've been to 3 Carry Festas, 2015, 2017, 2019. And it's all through in the arts. If you're not in it, you're not in it. And we cannot expect everybody to be in it. But I don't think that we can throw up our hands and say, no, this is not something that we should be pursuing because it's not where it should be, and let's leave it alone. Never. No. We have a long way to go, but we've come from a long way. And we have evidence, testimony to some of those people who had it tougher than now, made it. And we can identify with that and decide, yes, that we can go forward. And the examples that everybody know is Derek, but I'm glad when Kendall mentioned Gandalf.
Yeah.
Because when you say Gandalf was a very good actor, you have to punctuate that with Gandalf made it to the screen. Gandalf is in the movie. Come on now, some shark movie.
I think I remember.
It eluded us now, but Gandalf has made it to that level. And like he rightfully said, I work with Gandalf. So for me now, I was so happy that I was able to tap in. Gandalf directed a little project. It didn't go to stage. And Gandalf was the dramaturg for the play we did in Haiti. So he was always there providing, support, providing advice, providing counsel. So that wealth of experience on the ground in St. Lucia, not only in the academic area, the people that can pull out the papers, but just within the community itself, that richness is what is going to sustain the living, the culture, the theater, to take it to that level, the Gen Zs, where they will technology that word there, make it digital. So I think when it gets to the digital place, then we would be able to, have a different conversation as to where are we now.
Wonderful.
That's that for me.
Kyle, what are your friends saying? I mean, how are you convincing them to actually come out to watch guys now?
Well, it takes a lot less convincing for those that are actually involved in theatre. I would just tell them, okay, I'm doing this. And my friends are very supportive, so they will come and see. Right? With those who are not so involved and invested in theatre, I believe it truly is like, you need to have faith in it, right? Everyone wants to be a part of something special, but it takes someone seeing that it was special in the first place to then take it, and then more people want to be involved, right? That's how it goes. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start, with somebody who saw how far it could go, right? So I guess all you can really do as artists is to ask for your audience to trust the process, trust what you're going to do. You believe in a story, you think that will resonate with people, right? I mean, and like we said, this is a story that's been here for years and years and years, right? And it's only just now being told, but it is still ever so relevant. So it's really about just getting people to trust your work. I mean, again, I keep sending praise, but Kendall has done so much. So at this point, you know what you're getting into when you go to see his performances, right? So yeah, it really is just trust, and just try to take it to where we want it to be. That's what I think.
And it's happening this coming weekend. I know we have some calls coming in. We have to sort of pass on the calls because already we're over time here. But it's happening this coming weekend, Saturday from 8 p.m. at the Romanes Lancico HRDC in Entrepot, Castries. And you can get tickets at Island Pharmacy. You can pay at the door. You can also catch it if you're busy on the Saturday. Be sure to be there on Sunday from 6 o'clock. and it's got a wonderful story. It is history, it is drama, it is, well, obviously theater. It is. It's got a lot of stuff to learn, as well as emotions to think about where we are as a society, even a great deal of relevance, and it's of course being put on by some of St. Lucia's best actors, as well as one of St. Lucia's greatest playwrights and directors as well, Mr. Kendall Hippolyte. And we're going to allow you the parting words as well in terms of encouraging individuals to come out to watch.
Yeah, well, interesting what you talk about all the elements in the play. Something that surprised me when I was directing it is how funny in parts that it's wanting to read the script. The humor in it.
Yeah.
The parts where I'm watching these fellas and I'm killing myself laughing. That's it. So I mean, because it's a dark story, etc., etc. Yeah, it is, but it's funny. And I was surprised. I ain't saying that just to sort of try and encourage people to come. I really found myself laughing in parts that I never realized it was so funny. So, yeah, so it's going to be an entertaining night. And it plays maybe about an hour and 20 minutes long. And then we want to have a discussion afterwards. For those who want to stay and have a discussion. And the discussion afterwards, too, is equally fascinating. So it'll be a fascinating, entertaining, intriguing night. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Zol, it looks like you have something to add.
Richard would never forgive me for this, so I need to mention that. Richard and I started working in 1998. We put on a full production, dance production together called Belelesh. And from 1998, we did 3 radio dramas. And we went to Carifesta in 2015 together. So when Kendall say that Richard and I work well, I'm just trying to draw that picture to let you understand what you're going to see on stage there has been nurtured and cultured not only in theater but also in dance. We've been working together for some time. We know each other very well. And Richard, we did mention your name. The general public, we want you to come and see Richard before his name in lights so that you will be familiar with him. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I don't know if we missed out any sponsors. I hope we didn't not mention any of them. You wanted to mention any?
We can mention 2. The parliamentary rep has engaged us in providing financing for the project, and also the Office of CIP, Citizen Investment Program, also benefited.
And the Cultural Development Foundation, quite early on. It was a tricky time of year because you move into the end of the financial year, but it's a tricky time of year, but they went out of their way to make sure we got something. So I big up the CDF. Yeah.
Just a parting question. Is this the kind of film you think we should then be sent to Carifesta maybe in next time?
I think so. I think that this has a Caribbean resonance. Right. In fact, even beyond the Caribbean, but it's yeah. So I mean, preferably the film as well, but if not the film, I'm not going to say if the film is going to be made. Yes.
Well, look out for it on Netflix, please. It's coming out in a couple of years. I'll definitely be there, and it's called Kesno. It's about Black Malay and his manservant Kesno.
Yes.
And it's going to be a really interesting night. If you can take it on the Saturday night, you might very well want to come and watch it again on the Sunday.
Good point.
So get out there and get your tickets. It's happening. Bring your children out. It's a wonderful opportunity for them too, since they're on holidays.
More teenagers than children.
Well, yes, teenagers. Young adults, youngsters, everybody. But it's for all ages in any case. As Zol pointed out, lots of memories to be had as well, and to come back, and for youngsters as well. It's also a really fascinating opportunity to learn about your country and a bit of your history as well. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kyle Gustav, Zol Christopher Duncan, sorry about that, and Mr. Kendall Hippolyte, thank you so very much for being our guest here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. And of course, to all our listeners, we wish you a wonderful day and hope you can enjoy the play. And tomorrow, Julian Alfred is coming home, so be on the lookout for that. We'll have a bit of that to follow tomorrow as well. Have a great one. Take care.